Hello, this is Charlene. We are going to work on a quadratic word problem. Our problem says that the width of a rectangle shaped garden plot is 6 yards less than twice its length. If the area is 108 square yards, find the dimensions of the rectangle. Okay, so we need to look at our word problem first and try to convert it into math language. So this says the width of a rectangle-shaped garden is. What's key in that part of our word problem is the width. The width we're going to represent with W, and the word is. The word is means equals. So the width equals, and now it's going to tell us what the width is equal to. So this part right here, 6 yards less, means minus 6. 6 yards less is minus 6. And it's, what is it less than? It's less than twice the length. Well, how can I write twice the length in math language? Well, twice the length. Okay, so we've just given ourselves the width is equal to 6 less than 2 times the length. So we're going to rewrite that as W is equal to, except that I'm going to say 6 less than goes on the back end. So we need to do 6 less on the back end. 6 less than what? 6 less than 2 times the length. Okay, so that's the first equation we can come up with, the first sentence. And the second part of our sentence says that the area is 108 square yards. So that actually is telling us that the area equals 108 square yards. So if you notice over here, I have the equation area is equal to length times width. Hopefully you remember that. And if you don't, try to remember it for the future. Okay, so they told us that the A is equal to 108, which means that we can literally say 108 is equal to the length times the width. Now we have an expression for the width right here. This is the expression, the width is equal to this expression. This expression is going to lead us to an actual number. But how can we adjust our picture over here, mark this picture so that it helps us understand visually what all this means? Well, we have a width of 2L. Width is equal to the 2L minus the 6. Well, the width is based on the length, but the length is just the length. Does that make sense? So our width is actually based on the length, so therefore our length is just our length. So now we have length and a variable that represents the length, and we have an expression with that same variable representing our width. So the thing is, if we want to find the length times width, we're literally going to have to say length times width. So that's how we're going to write our equation. Our equation is A is equal to length times width. They said that our area was equal to the 108, so that's going to be 108. And we say that our L is just equal to our L. And we say that our width is equal to the 2L minus 6. So we're going to replace W with its expression, 2L minus 6. Okay, so does that make sense to you? The fact that if we want to find the area of a rectangle, that the equation is area is equal to length times width. We came up with expressions for length times width. Our area is equal to the 108, our length is equal to the length, and our W is equal to this expression. But the good thing that happens out of this is that we only have one variable. We only have L's and L's, and that is relatively simple to solve just using order of operations. So let's go ahead and get started solving for the L. So we are going to distribute this L into the parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to have 108 is equal to 2L squared. L times L is L squared. And L times the negative 6 is negative 6L. Okay, so this is starting to look like a quadratic. We know that because there's a power of 2 on our variable. Anytime our highest power is a 2, that tells us that it definitely is a quadratic. Quadratic. Well, how do we solve for quadratics? We're going to factor the quadratic. You can use the quadratic formula if you would like, but we're going to try to use conventional factoring processes. But in order to do this, I like to get everything on one side of the equation. I want to have it in the format ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So basically, I'm going to subtract this 108 from both sides, minus 108, and turn it into 2l squared minus 6l minus 108. Technically, it would be equal to the 0. Do I need that part to actually factor it? No, I can kind of just ignore that for the moment. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to try to make our lives easier by seeing, can we make these numbers smaller? We've got a 2 as a coefficient, a 6 as a coefficient, 108 as a constant. Can I make those numbers smaller to make my life easier? Yes, I think I can. I think I can pull a 2 out. So I'm going to pull a 2 out, and that's going to leave me with L squared minus 3L minus 2 out of 108 would be what, 54? 54. Okay, so at that point, to find solutions, I really don't need the number 2 that's out here in front. I only need to look at this part of my quadratic. So I'm going to look at the invisible 1. There's an invisible 1 right there, times the 54, which gives me 54. So I want to look for factor pairs of 54 because I want to see how I can come up with that 3. So 54, let's see, 54, how about 9 times 6? Can I subtract 9 and 6 and get a 3? Yes, I can. So I'm going to use 9 and 6. So I'm going to put L right there and L right there. I'm going to put my chosen factor pair 9 and 6 in here, 9 and 6. In order to get that negative 3, I'm going to have a negative 9, a plus 6. So we need to recognize that at that point, those are my factors. Those are my factors of my quadratic. If I multiply them backwards, I would get the original quadratic I started with. Those are not my solutions. How do I find my solutions? Zero product rule. Zero product rule. 0. Okay, which means that I am going to say L minus 9 equals 0. And I'm going to say L plus 6 equals 0. And when I solve those with order of operations, L is going to be equal to the 9, and L is going to be equal to a negative 6. Well, is there any such thing as a negative 6 length? No. We're in real life, we are going to reject that answer. So that means I'm going to accept L is equal to 9. And so that means my length is going to be equal to 9. And now that I know L is 9, I can now plug it into this variable L. So 2 times 9 minus 6, 2 times 9 is 18, 18 minus 6 is 12. So my width is equal to 12. Those are my two answers. My length is 9 and my width is 12. So it says find the dimensions. Those are my dimensions. There's my length, there's my width. We've answered our question. Hopefully this helps you think through the process, helps you visualize it with a picture of a rectangle, and helps you know how to set it up from the word problem. You just have a great day. Click on the like buttons, click on the subscribe button, and we'll see you back again another day.